Hello everyone, bringing you the Mannequin of the Month for February 2023 today. And what we're looking at, the topic which has topped the poll over on Patreon, is the kit of a private in the Royal Canadian Regiment serving in Korea in February of 1953. So rather a nice topic to be talking about, obviously 70 years on. So I'm rather pleased that this topic was the top of the poll over on Patreon for this month. You have an interesting mix of older equipment and brand new up-to-date uniform on the mannequin here. So without further ado, we'll get into the main part of the video and start talking about all these details, starting at the top, of course, with the headgear. What we have here is the Canadian winter cap. This is made of wool. It's made of the same sort of serge as you would see used for battle dress, Canadian battle dress uniform in this OD colour. Quite a neat design. It does have ear flaps. You can see this provision to affix a cap badge at the front here on this plastron at the front. We have the cap badge of the Royal Canadian Regiment at the front there. A stiffened peak, and you have this leather strap, adjustable leather strap around the front there, secured with a standard Canadian button, bronze Canadian button on each side. Quite a nice piece of headgear. As I understand, these were quite popular, and you do see them in use into the early 1960s. You occasionally see these in use with the first issues of Canadian combat uniform. There are a few photographs I've seen of that. So the Canadian winter cap at the top there. The uniform itself, or the main part of the uniform we can see here on the mannequin, is the modified 1950 pattern parka, and this is a really up-to-date piece of kit for the time, both obviously its introduction date, but also the materials it's made from. The outer shell is made of nylon, very up-to-date from that point of view, quite a new material for this sort of garment. Obviously has the Canadian cloth loop buttons there. These are fixed with a loop of cloth and became quite influential on other countries' uniform developments later on. And this is one of the earliest uniforms to see this type of button in use. Has a wool-lined hood, as you can see here, with a wire around the rim there, around the cowl of the hood to help shape it and obviously protect the face and the head. And 4 pockets, 2 chest pockets here, 2 bellows chest pockets and 2 lower patch pockets there, all with button flaps. Obviously a rank tab at the front here, quite an innovative feature for the time. No rank worn on this, but officers or NCO rank could be worn on here. And it's a very good design. I have talked about this in some detail in a previous video on the channel, so if you'd like to hear more about this and have a look at the internal lining and so forth, head over and have a look at that video. In terms of the equipment carried, we have a very stripped down set of 1937 pattern web equipment here. This is supposed to represent a soldier on a patrol, which is very common at this time. There's a lot of patrol work going on, and this is for a relatively limited range of patrols, so we just have ammunition, water and the bayonet carried, as we'll see as we move this round. We have 2 basic pouches from the 1937 pattern web equipment at the front here. These are both Second World War Canadian manufactured examples. The braces are both Canadian Second World War manufactured examples as well, actually manufactured in different ways. We have a different way of necking down from the 1-inch strap to the 2-inch strap on each brace, but they wouldn't be issued as matched pairs necessarily. Obviously a brace is a brace. We have the standard 1937 pattern web belt there as well. So that's the equipment, and obviously a look at the parka we have here. We'll start moving this around and have a look at some of the other details. Looking at the right hand side of the mannequin here, you can see the sleeve of the parka here with the elbow reinforcement coming around there. If I lift this out of the way, we can see the enamel felt covered water bottle carried round on the hip here. Basically still standard Second World War practice. Of course, Canada was introducing a new set of equipment which would include a new water bottle, but that's something I've covered elsewhere on the channel with the 1953 pattern equipment. Didn't see a great deal of service in Korea, certainly not before the signing of the ceasefire, but say in this instance in early 1953, still standard Second World War practice with the enamel felt covered water bottle. And this is in a standard Canadian 1937 pattern carrier, which obviously has the press stud round on the front face of the carrier there. So that's just carried on the brace ends of the equipment in standard fashion. Looking at the back of the equipment here, you can see nothing carried on the back, but we get a good shot of the braces here. If I lift the hood out of the way, you can see these are a mismatched pair, as said before. Where they cross in the back, there is of course a loop. These are wartime manufactured braces, and they retain the loop where they cross over in the back there. And they support the back of the belt by buckling on using these buckles here, as you can see there. Looking at the left-hand side of the mannequin here, there's one more detail on the parka to talk about, which is the pen pocket on the arm here, as you can see. If I lift the arm out of the way, you can see the bayonet for the No. 4 rifle is carried in a 1937 pattern bayonet frog. This particular frog is of a design initially intended for the 1907 bayonet for use with the rifle No. 1 Mark III Star. These had to be modified, and later in the war they would be manufactured with this modification in having an extra buttonhole or slot in the top loop there, which allows this frog to accommodate the slimmer scabbard of the number 4 spike bayonet with the stud passing through the top loop rather than using the slot between the 2 loops in the middle there. So modified design to allow the carriage of the spike bayonet using the older design of frog. So hopefully you found it interesting looking at this. As I say, I was very pleased that this topped the poll for this month. It's been very nice to talk about since I've actually... So hopefully you found it interesting looking at this. As I say, I was very pleased that this topped the poll for this month. It's been very nice to talk about since I've actually acquired this Parker. I haven't really set this up on the Mannequin with the equipment and so forth. So it's very nice to have this in the front room, gracing the front room for this month. It's nice to have this displayed on the Mannequin finally after having owned it for a little while now. So it's great to have had a good reason to get it out and display it. So thank you very much to everyone on Patreon who voted for this. It's been very fun making this video and talking about this. If you have found this interesting and you'd like to see more from the channel, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you'd like to support the channel, and particularly if you'd like the opportunity to vote on the topic that's going to be covered each month, Patreon is linked down below, as is PayPal. On Patreon, you get the opportunity to vote each month on what's going to be covered in Mannequin of the Month on the corporal tier over there. So if you're interested, check that out. I also upload the videos over there so people can watch them without the adverts as well. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, where there will of course be photographs of this posted up, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter are all linked down below. And if you'd like to get in touch with me but you don't really use social media, there is of course an email address in the description as well. That's everything for this video. So until next time, bye for now.